This is AUGforums.com Real Talk, an unfiltered, independent perspective on Acumatica Cloud ERP. My name is Tim Rodman, and I want to mention three things in this pre-recorded intro before we get started. First, thank you to our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Repay. Repay offers omni-channel integrated payment solutions for Acumatica users. Whether you are making B2B payments or collecting them, Repay is your full-service payments provider. Power up your payments to empower your business and accelerate the AP and AR payment flow through one seamless integration. Our second sponsor is DataSelf. DataSelf Analytics is a revolutionary reporting solution that enables organizations to make the most informed decisions faster and easier than ever. It uniquely simplifies business intelligence, empowers anyone to build and access dashboards, and delivers critical business insight when and where you need it. Our third sponsor is Velixo. Velixo is an award-winning provider of Excel-based reporting solutions for Acumatica. With Velixo, you can build financial, project, and other business reports in Excel with live Acumatica data in just a few minutes and get the answers you need. If you know Excel, you can do it. Please take a minute to support this podcast by clicking each one of the sponsor banners located at augforums.com/sponsors. Our sponsors track clicks, and every click helps to support this podcast. The second thing I'd like to mention is that I'm always looking for victims. Guests. If you use Acumatica in any capacity, no matter how small, I'd love to talk with you. Check out augforums.com/podcast and click the link near the top of the page to learn more about being a guest on the podcast. Third and finally, I'd love to see you listed on my Rolodex. Check out augforums.com/Rolodex to find out who else is using Acumatica and read the instructions at the top to see how you can add yourself to the list. All right, that's it for the pre-recorded intro. Let's get started. Today is Friday, June 24th, 2002, and this is episode number 90, AP Automation Journey with OCR and Artificial Intelligence number 1. No guest today, it's just me, and I'm going to use this episode to talk about a journey that I might go on with an Acumatica customer. Now, normally I just focus on reporting. That's all I do all day, every day. But there's an interesting situation with this customer where they're looking at AP automation solutions, and they're pretty good size. So I think they can really take advantage of it and go through a thorough process to vet the different solutions that are out there and find a good option. And it's an area that I particularly have been interested in. So that's why, although I only focus on reporting, I'm interested in making an exception in this case. Now, for those of you who don't know what AP automation is, the idea is instead of entering all your accounts payable bills manually into the system, you get the computer to do it. And how does a computer do it? It does it using a combination of OCR and artificial intelligence technology. Now, I put a number 1 at the end of this episode title in the hope of recording future episodes about this journey. So we haven't quite pulled the trigger on this yet. So hopefully we do pull the trigger, and we've got a number 2 and a number 3 in this series of episodes on AP automation with OCR and artificial intelligence. I'd even like to interview this particular Acumatica customer during the process. And there's several steps to the process. First, we're going to have to document our requirements, what exactly we're looking for. We could talk about what type of volume this particular customer has and the challenges they have with the current manual process. We could talk about the different solutions that we're looking at, and there's a few of them out there. You've got the out-of-the-box Acumatica solution. You've also got several options within the Acumatica marketplace. You've also got even more options outside of the Acumatica marketplace. So there's a lot of different solutions that we can look at. And the idea would be, if I get to record future episodes, I'm hoping I do, the idea would be to just share what we've learned throughout the process, but also it'd be interesting to hear what others have found. Maybe others have gone through the same process, or you're interested in it, you just haven't had the time to do the research, this is just kind of a transparent look at what we'd be going through for this particular Acumatica customer. Now, if you'd like to share your thoughts, ask questions, maybe you've already gone through this journey, or maybe you just haven't had the time but you're interested, feel free to comment on this episode page at augforums.com/episode 90. Now let's talk about OCR and artificial intelligence technology. First, OCR. OCR stands for Optical Character Recognition. OCR is the ability for a computer to take an image and extract the words out of it and turn it into actual text. You know, if anyone's ever sent you a document where they just sent a picture of it, it's great that you have the image, but you can only read it. You can't make edits to it. OCR technology can look at the words, extract them, and put them in like a Word document or some type of program where you can now make changes to the text. So OCR is the ability to do that. And OCR has been around for a while. As far as I understand it, the post office is a heavy user of OCR. All the envelopes that go through the post office run through an OCR engine. I wonder personally what percentage of them get recognized correctly. I'm not sure, but I think they then have like a manual process. If it doesn't recognize it, someone has to look at it. But it allows them to process a lot more mail faster than it would be if you just did it manually. Then artificial intelligence, or AI, allows you to take things a step further. And to me, a simple example of this is Google reCAPTCHA. I think that's how you pronounce it. If you've ever been on a website, actually including augforums.com, when you log in to augforums.com, it doesn't always do this, but sometimes it will prompt you with a series of images. And it might say something like, find all the bicycles in this picture. And you have to click on the frames that have the bicycles. Or it might give you different pictures and same idea. And if you've noticed these on the internet, then you might have also noticed that they used to be a lot easier several years ago. At least that's my recollection of it. I've noticed over time it's gotten more difficult. Like sometimes I look at these pictures and I have to squint. Maybe my eyes are just getting bad. I think it's the pictures. Like I have to squint. Is that a bicycle in the background? I can't really tell. Or, the question they're asking, it's not what's in the image. It's not completely clear if it is what they're asking for or not. And I think the reason for that is this artificial intelligence component, where every time you answer one of those images, you're teaching the computer what is a bicycle, what is a house, whatever the question is. And so it can then be more intelligent to answer in the future. And so I think that's why the images have gotten more complicated over the years, because now the engine's gotten smarter and you're trying to teach it more obscure examples. Now, when it comes to AP automation, you have to combine these two things together. First, you need the OCR component, because if you've got a vendor's invoice in front of you, you just want to extract the text off of it. You need the date, you need the vendor, you need the bill number, you need the amount, you need the line items. It's just the text that you want. So that's the OCR component. But then you also need the artificial intelligence, because you need to be able to teach the engine. This seems like it would be simple, and maybe I'm just missing something, but I think it's more complicated than the demos lead you to believe. I've seen a number of demos on these type of solutions, and they make it sound like this is stuff we've been doing for years. And maybe it is. Maybe I'm missing something. But it seems to me like it is a little involved. If you think about all the different vendor invoice formats, you need to not only get information like the vendor, the date, the invoice number. That stuff I think is fairly simple. But what about when you get down to the line level? Different vendor invoices sometimes have like different sections. They might have lines that are certain types of charges, and then they might have another box underneath that. That's another category of charges. And maybe you look at that and you can tell this first box is going to go to a certain general ledger account. the next section is going to go to another general ledger account. How do you teach the computer that? Or what if there was a purchase order number involved? What if you sent a PO to the vendor with your PO number, so they on their bill include the PO number? How does the artificial intelligence find that PO number and then go find the PO lines in your Acumatica environment that it needs to tie the bill to? I don't think that's super straightforward. Now, I am going to include a link on this episode page to Acumatica's demo of their own solution with supposedly a three-way match to a purchase order. But if you look in that demo on the screen on the image, I don't see a PO number. Now it finds one in the text, but I don't see the PO number in the actual image. So I think that's just one example of, I don't think this is as straightforward as the demos make it seem. Now, I could be wrong, but again, this is why I'm interested in it and why I'm interested in going on this journey with this particular Acumatica customer in a consulting capacity, even though I normally just focused on reporting. So the OCR piece, I think, is pretty straightforward. The computer is going to be able to recognize the text on the bill, especially in a situation like a vendor's bill, because it's not some weird font or some handwritten notes. It's just printed text on a page. It's fairly easy to recognize. But it's that line level detail. It's all that other information, and knowing where the bill number is. That might not be that straightforward because it might not say invoice number. Some vendor invoices just have a number on there, right? Or sometimes you end up using a statement, like when it comes to things like electricity or other utilities. It's just in a statement, so you don't really have an invoice number. You wind up using something like the last day of the month as the invoice number. How are you going to teach the computer to do that, right? Not so straightforward, at least as far as I can tell. So that's where the artificial intelligence is important, because you have to be able to make corrections to what the computer is guessing. And then it has to learn it for next time. So if I go on this journey with this customer and we wind up with more episodes in this series with a number 2, number 3, etc., those are the kind of things I want to look at. I want to run actual bills through the engine. And then I want to see, how does it do on the first pass? Then I want to run the same bill through a second time and see if the corrections that I made were immediately learned by the system. Or maybe it takes a few tries before it learns it. I'm not sure, right? And then I think another important part of this is what I'll call the tactile nature of it. You know, when it comes down to software, you can talk a lot of fancy talk and use the right technology terms like OCR and artificial intelligence. But how does the software feel? I think that user interface is also really important. How clunky is it for me to make those corrections and have the artificial intelligence engine learn those corrections? Is it a lot of clicking around, or is it real simple? Do I have to go to multiple screens? Do I have to type stuff in? You know, how is that user interface? How easy is it to work with? And that's, to me, kind of the tactile nature of software. How does it feel when you're moving around? Does it feel modern? Is it all web-based? Or is it some 1980s product? You know, some of the solutions that are out there for AP automation are Windows desktop software. They've got a web client, but it doesn't do everything. So you still need the Windows client for some stuff, and it's kind of clunky. So it's not just about can it do it, it's about how is the flow, how does it feel when you're using it. Because in my opinion, and you know, I'm not sure yet for this specific Acumatica customer, but in my opinion, this is all about elevating your AP clerks to more of like an auditor, up-leveling their skill set. You're not looking to replace people, but you're looking to take the people that you have and enable them to do more and do more sophisticated work. So it's not that you're taking artificial intelligence to replace people. You're taking the people that you have, you're training them to use this new technology so they don't have to do the boring work of just entering the data. But then you're still going to need them to review the information and make the corrections and make the algorithm smarter, right? You're still going to have that human component. So I think that the AP clerk then becomes more like an auditor. I used to do financial auditing right out of college. You'd go in, you'd look at the numbers, you'd go compare sample invoices to tie out the numbers and make sure that the information that are landing on the financial statements is correct. And I think it's the same process here. You're going to bring in artificial intelligence, but it's not magic. It's going to need human intervention. So then you have to decide, are you going to still review every single invoice? Well, maybe you do for the first few months, or maybe the first 6 months, not exactly sure. But for some period of time, you kind of run in tandem and you look at everything. Then maybe it gets to the point where things are running pretty smoothly. So maybe you then start to sample. You have the computer, or Acumatica in this case, just kick out every third invoice or randomly select invoices from the month for you to review. So you're still auditing the information. You're still having a human look at what the computer is doing, but now you're running more and more through the machine, so you need less and less human input. That, in my opinion, is the end game. But another question I have, and why I'm interested in this, is I wonder if this is a real thing in mid-market enterprise software. I don't know, just because I haven't seen it. I've seen a lot of demos, but there's a lot of software out there that demos well, but it doesn't actually do the job well. You know, when you get into the actual situations, you realize the software doesn't really do that great of a job. Sometimes it makes it take longer. Maybe you have to review 50% of the invoices, or you're still having to correct 50% of the invoices. And you're still doing that 6 months, 12 months later. Well, then I wonder, is the artificial intelligence software really that great? Or is it just not quite ready for mid-market companies? I get that it works for the post office. I get that you've got Tesla with artificial intelligence that can drive cars. I mean, for sure, there are examples out there of applying artificial intelligence successfully. I just haven't actually been on that journey in AP automation in mid-market companies with Acumatica. And I just wonder if the specific technologies that are available for Acumatica actually get you to the finish line. Just haven't been there myself. So I'm interested in going on this journey. Another reason why I'm interested is because I'm very interested in specific use cases. I'm not that interested in technology for technology's sake. I'm interested in technology applied to specific situations. And I think that accounts payable bills are a perfect area to apply OCR and artificial intelligence. Actually, back in January of 2017 at the Acumatica Summit in San Diego, they demoed an idea. It was a prototype. I think the solution at the time was called Abby, Abbyy. And I'm not even sure if that solution ever became a viable solution that people could purchase. A lot of the things you see in demos at the Acumatica Summit are just prototypes. So I'm not even sure. It looked good, but I don't know if they ever had anyone actually sign up and use that. But what struck me was the response from the audience. I've been to a number of different Acumatica Summits. I missed the last 2 of them with COVID going on, but I have been to a fair number of them, and I've never heard a reaction even close to that from the audience. Now, it's funny that you got such a reaction out of something as mundane as accounts payable bill entry. But if you think about it, it makes sense because every company has accounts payable, and accounts payable is a great use case for using OCR and artificial intelligence. It doesn't make sense that you should have to have someone here in 2002 manually entering accounts payable bills into Acumatica. It makes sense that a computer should be able to do that. Now again, is it ready for prime time? I'm not sure. Is it really going to save you time? Or are you going to spend more time wrestling with the computer and correcting everything? Is the user interface friendly enough that you can get someone to actually use it? Or would they just rather key the information in without it? I also wonder at how big do you need to be? If you're just entering 5 accounts payable bills in a month, it's probably simpler just to enter that in manually, right? You don't want to fire up all this extra technology if you don't have a compelling volume of transactions to really take advantage of it. So where's that break-even point, right? You can see I've got a lot of questions about it. But I think it's compelling, a compelling use case, a great use case for applying this technology to it. And so I'm interested in it. Another reason why I'm interested in it is because if you think about accounts payable, you still have a lot of companies that are printing checks, right? I think COVID helped to make a lot more payments go electronic because people couldn't get into the office to print those checks. But I think there's still a lot of checks moving around. And so if you think about that, you think about how much longer that technology has been around, being able to send payments electronically. Yeah, there's a cost, there's a trade-off, but it makes sense most of the time to just do electronic payments. Why are people still printing checks, right? Well, if they're still printing checks, how much more so is the idea of OCR and artificial intelligence, how much more so is that behind in terms of adoption? The technology, maybe it is there. Maybe I'll find out on this journey that the technology is totally there. Well, then it becomes a question of how many companies actually understand it and how many companies actually use it and use it properly so it's saving them time and it's worth the investment. All these are reasons why I'm interested in this journey and why I'm sharing this journey, hopefully with multiple episodes on this podcast so that others who are interested can participate both from a learning standpoint and contributing to the conversation by adding your comments to the episode page at augforums.com/episode 90. Hopefully you find this as interesting as I do, and hopefully we'll have more episodes in this series. All right, well that's it for now. We'll catch you on the next episode of augforums.com Real Talk. Thanks for listening and take care.